Hello, everybody. Today, I'm on the panel introducing technology to the pedagogy of pilgrimage. And my presentation is a pilgrimage in photos, tracing the Civil War from north to south. What exactly is a pilgrimage? It is a deeply personal, transformative, and ongoing encounter with symbolic places. I applied this understanding of what a pilgrimage is to my experience with the Civil War monuments that span from the north to the south. There were about 1,800 Confederate monuments in the United States. Virginia, a beautiful state, but as the capital of the Confederacy, it housed over 200 Confederate monuments. I was born and raised in Yorktown, Virginia for 24 years before my move to New York City in 2021. Truthfully, I was partially blind to the Civil War monuments growing up. I didn't notice them. And if I did, sadly, I was not taught to view them as concerning. In 2020, I had to take a upper level English class for my museum studies minor at Christopher Newport. I had chosen to write about this because I thought that it would be useful for my career. But I found that way more in that class besides useful career skills. I found a way to fight for civic justice in America. This class changed my thinking and life as a whole. I was taught by Dr. Brooke Covington, an assistant professor in the Department of English at Christopher Newport University, where she taught writing for civic engagement. And this course helped. I'm going to read from her syllabus. This course was created to help students analyze public relations and grants of the educational, social, political, arts, and faith-based organizations that work for the public good. In this class, we had 3 main assignments and then several informal writing opportunities called WOEs. The assignment 1 was rhetorical analysis. Assignment 2 was letter to the editor. Assignment 3 was a group grant writing project. My favorite assignment was the letter to the editor, and in this assignment, we were prompted to find an article to respond to about the Confederate monuments. My article I responded to was about Virginia's Confederate license plates, more specifically the one called Virginia's Gentleman. This license plate depicts Robert E. Lee as Virginia's gentleman. It was very difficult to write, only had 250 words. It was not required to submit it, but I did, and it was published on March 29th, 2021. If you would like, there's the link to read my article. Our final assignment was a group grant writing project on what we should do with the Confederate monument in Isle of Wight. My group chose to give it to a private citizen that would contextualize it and put it on private land. In this presentation, I will describe my journeys to the Confederate monument sites, such as Isle of Wight, which made me bear witness to the monuments and their tortured past. That journey, along with the other journeys, will be the focus of this presentation. Specifically, I will focus on 2 case studies, the Isle of Wight County Monument and the Civil War Monument in Sleepy Hollow. Dr. Covington encouraged us to take the trip to the monuments, but due to COVID and the distance from the monument, it was not required, and she did not give extra credit. So, what drew me to that monument? Why did I go? I didn't get extra credit. Well, it was to see the monument, but more than that, for me, it was cultural, spiritual, and emotional. I'm a very tactile learner. I like to see and feel the things that I'm learning about. And so this is what drew me to that monument. Also, I was compelled after that to fight for civic justice. But first, I want to show you the monument and walk you around it. Isle of Wight Confederate Monument is located next to the courthouse, the historic courthouse, and Boykins Tavern. The monument was dedicated on May 30th, 1905 by the Daughters of the Confederacy. It features on the top Johnny Reb. He is not specifically a soldier, but to represent all the soldiers lost in the war, as well as a watchdog to defend his county. In July 2020, legal revisions allowed for the removal of Confederate monuments. You can see that it also has iconography of the Confederate flag and the American flag. But when you view the monument straight on, you can't see the American flag. During the summer of 2020, the Black Lives Matter protest put pressures on local governments to act for removal. So, on September 3rd, 2020, Isle of Wight County public hearing was held to determine the fate of the monument. 48 people spoke in favor, 21 in favor, 24 against. In September, the city created an official task force to find out what they should do with the monument. One of the ideas was giving it to a local cemetery, but the cemetery rejected that idea. Finally, in early 2021, the choices were made to move the monument onto a private citizen's property. We were required to watch that 4-hour hearing as a part of Dr. Covington's class. From watching the public hearing, it became clear that people were confused about what a monument is and what a memorial is. In Dr. Covington's class, we read Tangled Memories, the Vietnam War, the AIDS epidemic, and the Politics of Remembering by Marita Sturken. Sturken outlines in her essay a clear distinction of what those two terms mean and what they are. These terms often get confused in the case of the Isle of Wight Confederate Monument because many of them stand to think that it's a memorial, not a monument. These structures often act as a similar to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in DC. In response, the community has been debating for months, what is this to them? Is it a monument? Is it a memorial? People claim that it is a memorial because it honors the dead. But many other claim it's a monument, that it celebrates the Confederacy and white supremacy. You can see that Larry Gaskins thought of it as a memorial, while on the other hand, Valerie Butler, the president of the NAACP, says that it is a symbol of oppression. As a part of the class, I had to give a reflection to what I felt that day watching it. And I said, I found the different perspectives engaging. I was surprised about how the lineup of speakers didn't feel ethnically diverse. The first African American didn't speak until the first hour and 20 minutes. Then after that, they were far and in between. Most of them didn't speak until the last part of the meeting, which at that point, the room was empty. Now for my pilgrimage to the site. I actually have been to the Isle of Wight monument, Isle of Wight before, for a county fair, and I drove right past the monument, didn't even see that it was there. But I did come face to face with the monument in February 28th at 3:30 p.m. It was very quiet and moody due to the rain. Not to mention that it was extremely muddy because it's in the middle of a traffic circle. I didn't know what to expect from the monument. I knew that it didn't have any barricades around it. It didn't have any guards around it, unlike the Lee Monument in Richmond. I was the only person there. It was like a ghost town. But there was the police station next door. I assumed that I would have caused trouble for being there to take photos, that they would come and question me. But they didn't. I surely thought that an African American would evoke some response from the police, even though that I wasn't looking for trouble. I just remember, so quiet. I walked around the monument, and my emotions did change as I interacted with it. I started out not upset with it because I saw it from afar. But as you get closer, you can read the Confederate iconography and text that has racist undertones. As a way of processing my emotions, I brought my camera with me. For some reason, every time you bring a camera and you bring professional equipment, people are naturally curious of what you're doing. I thought that the police would be part of that response, as it has happened before, but it wasn't. It actually was the locals who were responding to me. I could hear them yelling racist terms from across on the road and nearby, but I didn't hear exactly what they were. That negativity had a very, very big impact on my experience with it. And one of them, I can remember that I was near the statue photographing it. The people pulled up in their truck with Trump flags and Confederate iconography on it and screamed and yelled at me over in the area, the other traffic circle area by the monument. Again, they were far away. I couldn't hear them. But I remember, does it thinking, does it fill you with pride to support those racist ideals of the antebellum South when I wasn't even doing anything to deface or touching the monument? What warrants this type of harassment? I was very uncomfortable and upset that I couldn't just photograph the monument. At that moment, I started thinking about the hate crimes you see on the news and getting scared that something would happen to me. But just as quickly as those people came up, they sped right off. So I asked my partner to stay with me for the rest of the time because I felt uncomfortable and did not want to be harmed. Especially because tensions were really high in the US at that time. I wasn't surprised by the racism that happened there or the racist. It's nothing new to me. I've grown up in the South, so sadly racism isn't surprising. But I saw from that observation that it drew out hate and racism in the community. I was just alone, and I was only photographing the statue. What would have happened if there were more African Americans with me? I also found a sign that day. It said, "Y'all yellow bellies," which that means someone without courage. They don't have nerves. They're a coward. Left me a bit confused. Was the sign saying that the people who supported are yellow bellies, or the people who want to get it removed are yellow bellies? So this drove me to want to know more about the history and understand the historical perspectives of the people's voices about the monument. And Dr. Covington gave me a perfect chance. She offered the class to go with her to the Library of Virginia's archives. I signed up and went with her. I didn't find historical voices of the monument in particular. I found something that was much more disturbing and compelling. It was materials on a letter to about textbooks and how they depict the Civil War from the North into the South. The letter was from J. William Jones. He's a staunch supporter of the Lost Cause. It was sent to the Chairman History Committee. Jones wrote a textbook entitled School History of the United States from 1836 to 1909. In this letter, Jones makes complaints about how John Fiske, Morris, and other textbook writers Yankeeized the Southern history. Jones wanted the textbooks to teach children in the South, Southern children, truth about slavery, general matters of the Constitution, and the War of Succession, and what caused the war. He believed that Northern textbook authors were not teaching it accurately, and in his mind, the textbook should be sympathetic to the South and its war for independence. The books should have included also ties to family, the effects on landscape, the effects on the economy of the South. In the letter, he states that he dislikes the books because they called it the Southern Independence, a rebellion. And you can see how he ended the letter on his opinions of what textbooks were stating. I know that both sides of the war had bias and that neither one was right. And today, both textbooks from the North and the South are considered to be inaccurate. But this letter gave me a peek into society 30 years after the Civil War and how they were trying to deal with what happened and how they were trying to teach the war. After this, it led to an intentional walk around the Robert E. Lee Monument. Now, these images I'm showing you were from a previous visit. I visited the monument earlier that year in the morning of Martin Luther King's birthday. The monument had been creating a lot of controversy, so I decided to go check out what was creating the controversy. There was also discussion that there would have been a demonstration on Martin Luther King's birthday. I did not stay long enough to see if there was. The monument had been transformed with graffiti and other art. It transformed it from a monument to Robert E. Lee to a memorial of Black lives lost. But on March 3rd, 2021, I arrived to see the monument with a fence. This destroyed the function of the monument becoming a memorial, becoming a shrine. This destruction crushed my heart, seeing that what the Black Lives Matter movement built just gone. And with a note saying, "Keep out, only for authorized personnel." It seemed so harsh at the moment. I was thinking, why the fence? Why now? Why after the Black Lives Matter movement created the Black Memorial from Lee's ashes? But later I would learn that the fence was up in preparation for its removal. Again, this brought up ideas of what Sturkin was saying in her essay. Memorials act as shrines. For example, the Vietnam Memorial, people leave dog tags, shoes, and flags. Lee's monument functioned similar to the Vietnam Memorial. It was a shrine to the needless police violence in Richmond, but also the whole of the U.S. as well. That's why revisiting the monument was so important. I wanted to see the shrine again. I wanted to see what the Black Lives Matter movement did, but I was met with a bittersweet ending, a fence that destroyed the shrine. Not as large of a movement as the Black Lives Matter movement is the LGBTQ plus movement within the Black community. Seeing someone spray paint Black trans lives matter, this showcases the complexity of the struggle of African Americans in the U.S. This experience was very much different than the Isle of Wight County monument, which had no fences, no art, no memorial. But after watching, reading, and experiencing the class, it gave me cultural and historical perspectives to understand the Isle of Wight Monument and Confederate monuments all across the U.S. The last case study was the Civil War Monument in Sleepy Hollow, New York. Now, all of these journeys have emotional, sometimes physical reactions, which further my decision to take my final pilgrimage to the North, and specifically Sleepy Hollow, and to see how the Civil War Monument and the Confederacy enslaved people were represented. This monument was very different than the Southern Monument. It's in a cemetery. It's quiet. It was peaceful. I was feeling safe. I was feeling ideas of people being fighting for freedom. You can see that there are inscriptions on the monument stating that they fought for equality, that they fought for freedom. And there's a roll of honor, saying the people from the counties that Sleepy Hollow inhabits, what the people fought, that the lives lost, as well as the monument being around Civil War veteran graves, giving that a very different experience than the Isle of Wight County. Isle of Wight County is on public land in front of the courthouse, where the Civil War monument was on private land in a cemetery. This idea of this idea of it being private, being a cemetery, is what a lot of the supporters of Confederate monuments are saying, that they were created to memorialize the dead. But if they were, why are they in places of power? This statue did not cause a fight for racial justice in the county. It didn't cause any controversy. I did some digging online and I couldn't find any media generated around it, besides a few articles on what the statue is and who created it and why. It has had no defacement. It has had no protest. I find it poetic that a town named Sleepy Hollow has a Sleepy Civil War monument in such a turbulent time in America. I argue that the monument isn't a monument, but a memorial due to its fact inside a cemetery and that it's on private land. This memorial has caused no problems to the community, unlike Isle of Wight's. Ironically, the two monuments had very similar weather, cloudy and rainy, but I think that the Isle of Wight monument was worse. It was cold. It felt dark. Yes, it was February, but this monument had this air around it, this ominous feeling, where for some reason the Sleepy Hollow monument didn't. It felt peaceful, even though it was cloudy. The last part of this presentation is on photography, emotions, and memories. I process memories very different than most people. I'm an artist, so I process them through creative lenses, even when taking a pilgrimage. I paint, I sculpt, I draw, and do photography. I urge to use photography in the form of technology, as a form of technology in other instructors' parts of their pilgrimage curriculum. Dr. Covington showed us slides and walked us around the monument virtually, and this really helped my understanding and really propelled me to do all of my other pilgrimages as well. A photo that wasn't taken by me, but it can show that a key element to the Black Lives Matter movement is photography, capturing a moment more than ever in any other way. And photography has been a key to many civil rights movements in the past and will be as well in the future. Photography has been around for a long time, but it's changed from being from the few to being to the masses, to being in our pockets, to anyone being able to use them. Now, for me, I wanted to capture the civil injustice and justices as well. And I hope to capture the heartbeat of the world and of America for the rest of my life as a photographer. Thankfully, I'm living now in New York City, so I can capture other protests and other forms to fight for equality. I have photographed my journeys through civic justice and injustices through that semester, which I shared with you today. And before I end my presentation, I wanted to say and leave you with a quote by W.D. Du Bois. The cost of liberty is less than the price of repression. I thank you all for watching my presentation and have a great day.